All right, y'all. So final parts of the video. I did retake the photo of the plant that I said that I was gonna retake a picture of. Rather than showing you guys yet again that the V60 is just faster at focusing, this time the S21 did actually catch it really quick. This time, it was pulsating a little bit in terms of exposure, but it caught it just fine. And I do feel that the V60 did indeed catch more detail, ever so slightly. And I'll show you guys, obviously, when it comes to the S21 Ultra, how it looks. But I feel this looks very nice. On both phones, I feel this looks very nice. So, in terms of this, what's very nice is that it's not nearly as windy out as it was earlier. It just now is starting to sprinkle a little bit in terms of rain. So, it is getting a little bit on the wet side. I'm already sweaty because I've been walking a whole bunch. So let me switch over to the S21 Ultra just to show you guys how that looks. Okay, so final clip on the S21 Ultra here. Let me go to the photo. And you can side by side it yourself just to see exactly how it looks. I do feel, as you guys can see, there's a little bit more fringing on the edges there. I'll probably do one more look comparing it to the one more look on the V60 just to show you guys exactly what I mean. But in particular right here, do you see a little bit of fringing? The overall detail is fine. I do feel it does a pretty decent job at getting the detail. The background blur again is very nice. I do feel like this is where the S21 Ultra shines due to its overall larger sensor compared to the V60. It does get slightly more background blur. Both are very nice. Both are very clean. I do feel the V60 is a little bit more handled in that department though, mainly because again, when you do look and you do pixel peep, you do see that fringing. So let me go back to the V60 yet again one more time, and it's going to be the final clip. Okay, so final clip on the LG V60, and let me show you exactly what I mean. You see how it's not really fringing here on the edges on the V60, whereas and you see a little bit more fuzz detail on there, whereas on the S21 Ultra, it was fringing. It looked a little bit weird on the edges there. Again, if you just take the photo and use it for like a very casual, like say social media shot, it'll be just fine. But in terms of what you see there, if you want to pixel peep and you want to get closer to the image, you will get issues like that. So that's all I really want to say for this. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. This is a very long video. So yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to put these right next to the first couple clips just so you guys can see. So, yeah. Have a good one, you guys. What is up, y'all? Sparta here. So, for this video, I'm just testing out the... not just the focusing on the camera on the S21 Ultra, but overall just the camera and shooting experience when it comes to just the main sensor. Well, overall the main and the two telephoto lenses. And what I want to tell you guys is what you'll see quite a bit when it comes to using this phone, very much like the iPhone or every other phone that uses telephoto lenses, the problems you'll run into is that if you're a little too close to the subject, or if the phone decides it wants to focus on one subject and not the subject you actually want in the frame when it comes to a 3x or 10x photo, it'll switch to the main sensor and just crop to 10x. And the issues that I have is that wouldn't be a problem if in pro mode you were able to shoot on either of the telephoto lenses, but you don't get that option. You can only shoot you can only shoot on the main lens and the wide angle when it comes to the pro mode. So you don't get any sort of control over what you want to do with that. I tend to turn the AI mode off because it tends to do a little bit too much when it comes to auto mode. Obviously, they're going to have that that focus enhancer thing. When I roll back through here, I will show you guys exactly what that looks like and how overall that operates. But in terms of what this phone can do overall, I do feel like the overall shooting experience is fine. I do feel it's solid. It's just, you have to really make sure you nail the focus, especially right now in this more windy day right now that it is. You got to really make sure you nail the focus. And I have my trusty V60 with me too. And that's a V50. V60 with me too. And what I've noticed so much is that the V60 just snaps into focus real fast, especially compared to this. Now, this is something that Samsung had an issue with last year with the S20 Ultra. That's why with the Note 20 Ultra, they put laser autofocus on the phone, and that's why the S21 Ultra has a laser autofocus. But what I'm finding is that if you want to focus on small subjects, it's not really going to do all that well. It's going to, for example, right? Say I want to focus on this. As you guys can see, it's struggling a little bit. But obviously, I'm in manual mode, so if I want to, I can't just focus like that. And when you do get in focus, it looks clean. It looks crisp. Nothing is wrong with that, right? Whereas, say, let me do the exact same thing on the V60 and show you guys. The V60, obviously, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. The V60 got it right there. Obviously, it took a little bit. It's windy out, all that stuff. Let me make sure I didn't get any mud on my, but let me try this right here. Same deal. V60 got it. Let me move it. Pan back down. V60 got it. Move it. Pan down. V60 got it. Whereas the S21 Ultra, it's not struggling here all that much. But as you guys may be able to see, it's not focusing all that well. So when I pull in focus, as you guys can see, that looks better. But say when I do it again on the V60, it just looks nice. It just looks nice and clean. And I'll show you guys those pictures here real quick. And I'll try to focus on these as well, just so you guys can see exactly what it looks like. But yeah, let me do that here real quick. Okay, so here on the S21 Ultra, let me go into photo here. As you guys can see, depending on how you angle the phone, it will do a little bit better in terms of, obviously you got to figure out the, the minimum focusing distance and all that stuff. But right here, I feel it's totally fine. Say I do this. Again, it starts to lose focus. You tap, it's totally fine. You go to 10x. Say you want to get this, right? You can't get that, so you got to move back a little bit, and then boom, there you get it. And it's a little bit hazy. It doesn't look all that great, but you can indeed get it. Say I do the same thing for this, right? Overall, it looks fine. But say I go to 3x. Tap to focus, it doesn't really catch focus on the center there. Say I go a little bit farther and do the same thing. Now it gets a little bit better with focus, and now I got one of these goddamn plants on my sweater. So yeah, in terms of that, I do feel like the laser autofocus doesn't really, it helps a little bit. But when you try to do these macro shots, right? Say I want to get this right here. As you guys can see, it's shifting the lens so that it utilizes the main lens, right? And I can't really get any sort of focus here. This is why I said, like LG does on their phones, Other manufacturers need to add the manual focus option in autofocus. I mean, in autophoto mode. So let me go to the V60 and show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so we're on the V60 here, and let me do the exact same thing. As you guys can see, like I said, the V60 catches focus right away. I move, it loses it, I go back, it gets it again. And obviously I tend to turn the AI mode off, but as you guys can see, it catches it. I go up to here, it catches it no problem. I go to 2x and I zoom in a little bit, right? Then I tap the focus, it catches it, right? That's really clean. That's really nice. Obviously, the photo is not amazing because it's a cropped in photo. But I do the same thing here, right? I do 2x. Looks pretty good. I go in a little bit. I tap the focus. Boom. This is very effortless with the V60, man. Like, I feel like LG with this last update really focused on trying to make this photo experience just better when it comes to their autofocus. Initially with the Android 10 on the V60, the autofocus was kind of but I mean not it worked very well. Sometimes it would lose focus, but now it feels like the moment I go in, boom. The moment I go out, boom. The moment I go in, boom. That's something I just can't do on the S21 Ultra, and I'll show you guys again exactly what I mean. All right, so back on the S21 Ultra, I do this. As you guys can see, it's doing nothing, right? I do this, it's doing nothing. I tap the focus. The second time, it decides it wants to do something. I move away. Well, obviously, since it's not technically not an autofocus, it's not going to do anything. But, yeah. And the moment I try to go in like that, take a picture, it looks decent. But say I do the same thing on the V60, right? Say I do the exact same thing on the V60. I go in, take a pic. Let me see what exactly the scene was. Okay, so it was this. I go in to take the picture. Take the picture. And the V60. It may look overexposed on the S21 Ultra, but I will tell you that it just looks very clean. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down even more, try to get more background blur porn shots here. So yeah, let me do that here. Okay, so this is what I want to show you guys and when it comes to the scene when it comes to the focus optimizer thing. It's in the lower right here. So I press it, and as you guys can see, it takes out all the background blur. But this is why I don't like using it. Yes, it keeps your subject in focus, but it also feels like the phone is way more wavy, right? So I go back, I do this. What I'm gonna do with this photo is, since I really don't like how overblown the background is. Nah, actually, it's when I was up here that was kind of terrible. Now when I'm down here, it's fine. So I'm gonna do that. Then I'm gonna move back, attempt to get 10x, see just how much detail I can actually get. And that honestly kind of looks like trash, so I'm gonna trash it. So let me go back and attempt right here. And as you guys can see, the laser autofocus did really well there. But I feel what the problem is constantly hunting for a point to focus on. So what I would typically do is I would hold it so that it could lock the focus and then take the picture. And as you guys can see, it's not great. Obviously, due to the fact that the subject is in the wind, it's not going to be amazing when it comes to keeping the subject in focus. But what I'm going to do here, go back to the V60, show you how the V60 does. And yeah, let's do that here real quick. All right, so back on the V60 here. When I do this, obviously it does the exact same thing as the S21 Ultra did, where it's compensating for the exposure and all that stuff. So what I do is I go down here. Obviously I have the AI mode off. I do really feel this photo is beautiful. This scene is beautiful. And there's a lot more detail right here. I feel like the S21 Ultra missed quite a bit of detail when it came to that. Which one was it? I think it was this one. And as you guys can see, like I've been showing you guys this entire time, the V60 catches focus really fast, right? And I don't know why it turns the auto mode, it turns the AI mode back on when I turned it off. But look at that detail, man. That's very nice. Let me try to get a little bit closer and see how well it handles that. Not amazingly, obviously. Not amazingly. Let me try that one more time. We'll try that one more time. Honestly, nice. Pretty damn nice. Let me try to get this one right here, huh? I feel like I feel like I'm moving a little bit too fast. So let me try. That's a little bit better. Obviously, due to the wind, it's not going to be amazing, but I honestly felt that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going, see if I can find more stuff. I'm going to try to go to a spot that I typically go to take some very good background blur test photos. So let me do that here. Okay, so the main reason I'm doing these things is because, again, I did want to test what the S21 Ultra can do in terms of its photo mode, in terms of its overall camera quality, how easy it is to take the picture and all that stuff. But this was also something that I feel is very interesting to show, because a lot of the criticism LG got, some of the criticism LG got was that you can't just tap to take a photo. And as you guys can see, in auto mode, what was I doing? I wasn't in pro mode. I wasn't in manual camera or pro mode or your equivalent of that. There were a couple times where I did check the manual focus in the auto mode to see if it was actually focused, and then I took the picture. There are times where I turn the AI off, mainly because I just don't like AI on all that much. Sometimes it does a little bit too much, but there are times where I just keep it on. And what this is showing you guys is the criticism that they got in the past when it comes to that, especially when it comes to the V60, I feel was like one of the stupidest criticisms you could ever give of the phone. You can't just point and shoot and take a photo when that's all I did. You know, it's just sad, man. This is one of the talking points a lot of LG, you know, detractors liked to use, is that the camera app is clunky, which is, I was about to say a word I'm not going to say, which is stupid, because the S21 Ultra's camera app is more clunky. The V60's camera app is actually pretty damn straightforward. And this isn't just coming from someone that's used LG phones since, you know, forever. This is coming from somebody that I feel, if I hand this camera to my dad, he'll be fine with it. If I hand the V60 to my friends, they'll be cool with it. If I hand it to my mom, she'll be fine with it. If I hand it to my girlfriend, she'll be fine with it. And let me tell you, when I was comparing the 12 Pro Max to the V60, and I was sending photos to my girlfriend comparing them, every single time she picked the V60 in terms of quality over the iPhone, and she's an iPhone person. So that just goes to show you that Apple doesn't really have it locked down in terms of the objective quality of what the average consumer would like. Same with Samsung, right? Now, let me get more into this here, and I'll come back to you guys. Okay, y'all, I know I'm taking a lot of, like, plant shots, but this is something that really tests the focus of the phone, right? And what I want to show you, what I want to tell you guys, what I have to adjust on both phones when it comes to this area in particular is the exposure. So I come down here, right? The S21 Ultra got it just fine. What I have to do is, I have to do that, because it overblows a lot of the, it just overblows a lot of it, right? And to me, that looks decent. Now, let me go over to the V60 here and show you exactly what I mean. And I'll do this again. I'll show you guys, I took a picture of these leaves right here, and I had to do the exact same thing. Now, this is decently detailed, I feel. It's totally fine. But let me show you exactly how it looks on the V60 and why I feel that the V60 just handled it overall better. So again, I'm on the V60, right? And again, like I told you guys, what I got to do is, now funnily enough, the V60 is the one that doesn't want to focus for once. Now, to be fair, this is moving like nothing. Like, come on. Okay, so actually for this, I don't really have to adjust the exposure, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I just like how that looks, right? And again, I'll show you guys. The V60 consistently comes out more detailed. Consistently. You could even see like the little webbing right there from a spider or something, right? Now let me go over to like the clovers again. Well, they're not clovers, but as you guys can see, just right here, the V60 just holds more detail. Again, like I said, I did have to lower the exposure on both phones. I did. I'm not going to lie about that. But this is something I would use as a wallpaper or something, whereas the S21 Ultra just lacked just a little bit too much detail. It lacked a little bit too much detail, and I feel that's what matters, right? It really does matter to talk about that stuff. And if you hear me walking through rocks, it's because I'm walking through rocks. But yeah, that's just what I feel, man. I'm going to take a couple more photos. I'm going to find a couple more spots just so I can show you guys a little bit more of what I mean when it comes to macro. And why I feel the V60, well, it's not necessarily macro. I guess you would call it more of like a plant portrait. But either way, I'll show you guys exactly what I mean when it comes to this. And again, I cannot stress this enough. I will say this maybe one more time after this. This is not me saying that the S21 Ultra is a bad camera. I said multiple times that I like what the S21 Ultra is doing in a lot of cases. But when I'm testing what's supposed to be a lead phone in the market right now, I want to test if if the camera is really punching above, well, what used to be a competitor, but what was once a competitor in the space, right? So LG is where I'm going because I have a V60 and this is just how I'm doing it. Whew. I do feel it handles the greens here really nice too. In video, I feel Samsung does a really good job when it comes to how things are handled in terms of colors. I feel like phones like the iPhone do a bit too much. Like with its auto dynamic HDR, I do feel it's a bit much. Like sometimes it just looks mosaic-y and it just looks bad. Not mosaic-y, holographic-like, and it just doesn't look great to me. But I feel like the S21 Ultra does a very good job of keeping the greens green and overall just looking nice and clean. But yeah, let me go to my next couple areas and do this. Okay, so this is actually a precursor to my other two, but when I booted this up on the S21 Ultra, the fucking AI enhancer mode thing said, oh, switch to 108 megapixel mode to get every detail out of the shot. So what I did is I did that, and it did indeed show a little bit more detail. So what I'm going to do here is, one, hold this, but attempt to, honestly, getting my hand out the shot is just not going to be optimal. So let me do that. As you guys can see on the V60 here, it's quite detailed. So what I'm going to do, go into 64 megapixel mode, do the exact same thing. But now I'm going to catch, I'm just going to catch this. Now I already captured this photo. I already captured a photo. Captured a photo. I don't know why I think I'm saying that wrong. I already captured a photo of this. It just sounds weird in my brain. But like, I'll show you guys. Let me go over to, I think it was these two. Let the phone. This was in 16 megapixel mode, I think. Let me check. Yep. Yep, because it's way smaller. Because let me go over to here. Huh? Hold on. Oh no, that's the, this is the 64 bad boy right here. Whew! That looks really clean. I'm gonna go over to the S21. This is gonna be a long ass video. I'm gonna go over to the S21 Ultra. Okay, so S21 Ultra time. So let's do this. 108 megapixel mode. I'm gonna hold it again. I'm gonna go as close as I possibly can. Take the picture. And boom. I already took a picture, so I'll just show you guys. I think this was 108 megapixel. Let me see. Yeah, that was 108 megapixel. So, a good amount of detail here. Very nice. Let me show you the 12 megapixel still. As you guys can see, it's just not as clear. It's not like, to the naked eye, it's not really something that I would say is drastic. You got to really do a side-by-side and compare it. But in terms of like overall clarity, I do feel like, in terms of the 16 megapixel mode versus the base 12 megapixel bend down mode on the S21 Ultra, I do feel like the S21 Ultra gets beat. When it comes to 108 versus 64, I do feel both of them do a very good job. I don't feel one is necessarily like completely decimating the other. I do feel like both are doing a very good job of giving you this a very good amount of detail and giving you just that very nice background blur. So let me go to my last couple here. Okay, so photo number one. Let me get close to this here. And of course, there we go. So what I mean, lowering the exposure just gives you the detail the phone doesn't want to give you. So we're going to here. 12 megapixel looks fuzzy. Oh, that's 108? That's 108? That's 108? All right, let's go over to the 12. Do the exact, oh God. Do the exact same thing. Boom. Okay. For this, the detail isn't really like, it's ever so slight, like it's ever so slightly more, but let me go over to the V60 here. Okay, so what I gotta do here is record another clip because the one I recorded got a little bit jacked up and corrupted during the recording. So I'm just going to just show you guys the two pictures that I took. I believe this was in 16 megapixel mode. If I can look at the, yep. Lowered the exposure, all that stuff, and as usual, what does tend to happen is that the V60 tends to be more detailed than the S21 Ultra here. I go into 64 megapixel mode, do the same thing. As you guys can see, it's far larger. And there really doesn't seem to be that much gain in detail. This tends to be the case with both the 108 on the Ultra and the 64 on the V60. It shows a little bit more detail in certain aspects, but to me it's not enough to warrant constantly using that, again, unless you're just going to be editing your photos and you want the most information possible to edit your photos. Okay, so unfortunately the last place I was going to take a picture kind of got desecrated over here, so that's a no-go. So the last picture I took is just the last picture. In conclusion, I guess what I'm showing off, what I'm thinking that I'm showing off anyway, is that in terms of overall, like say you're just going to shoot in the base modes, right? I do feel like the V60 has the hand in detail and clarity. I feel it does. And overall dynamic range, that's subjective, obviously. If you like Samsung's way of doing it, you're going to like Samsung's way of doing it more. Me personally, I just prefer LG's. I feel like that they focus on the greener tones a little bit better. I feel like Samsung sometimes is a little bit dull when it comes to certain tones and a little bit too heavy-handed when it comes to others. When it comes to the 108 versus 64, I do feel like it's a very, like, I don't know if I would say one is necessarily better than the other. Sure, one may say 108, one may say 64, but at the end of the day, I feel like they get just as much detail as one another. If not, the S21 Ultra may have a slight edge, but it's not to the point where I would say that, it's not to the point where I would say the V60 is losing that battle. Like I said in the previous camera comparison video, I do feel like the S21 Ultra, due to its larger sensor size, is getting the better amount of depth of field, right? But sometimes that can be a blessing and a detriment. So sometimes you want that, but sometimes it could get a little bit too heavy-handed with that as well and cut out a certain subject that you did indeed want in the photo when it comes to macro shots, right? So yeah, in terms of this, I do feel like both phones are very good. Obviously, this is not an amazing day to shoot photos, but I think I just chose the right kind of photos to shoot, so that's not necessarily a problem. Let me know in the comment section below what you feel about this. Again, this is a doozy of a video, so ooh, this is gonna be insane. But this is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. I'm really going to be testing the S21 Ultra in terms of its video rendering capabilities with this. Thanks for 1,027 subscribers. I do appreciate it. Have a good one.